Okay, so today I want to speak about using an ESP32 as a 3D printer board. This is basically what I did. I did it like this because I already had one of these, and I like to tinker with these electronics, and I bought one stepper driver because I was trying to make filament out of PET bottles. And then I bought another one and another one, and I started building it like this. I really enjoy it. But if you're just interested in using this, you might go. It might be easier to just buy this. I highly recommend you buy this and not build it. It's much cheaper. For example, this costs about $5 plus shipping. Four of these like $15. The most another $5, so we're around 20 plus shipping plus the other components. It's much cheaper like this. Okay, I'll leave a link in the description for this one. This is the original from the ESP32. Actually, this because these guys build this board, it's the reason it's you can find it implemented in Marlin. Okay, so this is the chip. One thing I want to mention, these pins, the four ones, are just input, so you cannot drive steppers or heaters. I really struggled a bit with this one in the beginning because they were not working. So take care if you want to play with this. Then these pins are fine. I connected to these ones the thermistors for bed and extruder, and two limits for limit stops, limit switches for X and Y, and the Z I put it on one of these pins here. Then these 8 ones I used it for the direction and step and direction pins from every driver. So as you can see, all these are going on this side, plus these are the thermistors, and then stops are coming from here as well because I'm using software and stops. And then everything else goes on this side. Now let's continue. I use the bed heater on this pin because I'm using this external module, and it requires two pins, a plus and a minus. And it was convenient to use the minus from here. Then I use the GPU to the second pin for the extruder because I like it. It's the same with the connected LED, so I can see when the heater turns on. Then I use this one for the enable pin for all the drivers, and these two for the serial of the drivers. And as you can see, I've almost used all the pins just with the basic. Now the problem on this one, I put the Z end stop. It's actually a probe, but it still works as an end stop. And on this one, I put the park cooling fan. So that took all the pins. These ones, I don't know why, but they don't work. They don't work as outputs. And the last SPI, these pins, the same, they do not work as outputs, except for this, the select one. This one works. I connected to this one the extruder cooling fan because I wanted to set it to start at 50 degrees. It's a bit noisy, mine. But if you would give up this one, you could connect, because you have these green ones, the SPI connector. You could connect a card reader, for example, if you use, but since I'm using it with Octoprint, there was no need for me. Okay, so that's basically all you need to know about this one. You can only use like four stepper drivers unless you want to use some fancy circuit. But basically this is all that it supports, and we've used all the pins. I want to show you a bit the main settings you need to do in Marlin. So in the platform Yoini, let me also open this to show you. Just a second. Okay. So it is loading. Here you have to set the default environment to FitTech, and that's it. Then we have in the pins Marlin source pins a ESP32, and here we have the FitTech. Here you just need to set the serial pins, and then in the above the common one, here you just edit this file and set your pins. As I told you, these are the 8 pins. The enable pin is common, like I said, because we are out of pins. And these are the SPI ones left. Okay, after you set this, I recommend to do it if you want to do it like I said, because it's easier like this. You have all the drivers on one side and the other on the other side. Okay, now going for the settings. We start with the motherboard. For setting, board, not you need to put here board in front. Board is set by CE4. Serial port -1. Serial connection speed, this one. Okay. Then I will scroll a bit fast through this file. You don't need to change anything here. It's just more advanced settings. Thermal settings here. I'm using a generic 100K. Most thermistors are like this. So you need to set, this is the extruder, and thus you put 1 here. It's set to 0 and you put 1. So you enable for the extruder and the bed. Okay, moving on, we'll have the kinematics settings. If you're using a Core XI, XY or something else, here, this is what I'm using. Next, we have the drivers. Here, what type of driver? You might have this generic one, the cheapest one, or these ones. You just put it here. Okay. Next will be, I'll just use a search so it's faster. The bed size, so it limits how much the bed head moves, and the Z. This one is the most important one. Okay, so here you set the steps per unit. How do you get these ones? You can use the Prusha. I'll put a link, has a calculator, and you just input your settings and it will give you these values. Okay, so that's everything you need to set here. Basically now you could run your printer, but if you want to use the software for the TCM drivers, you need to go to the advanced here and search for example interpolate, set it to true. It's the drivers are making less noise, and then here the current and the micro steps. Basically you're interested in this one for setting the micro steps. You have humming bump if you're interested. Okay, here, so the head moves after it hits the limits. At least here it works fine. In Clipper I haven't managed to do it work fine. And these ones might be interesting. Just uncomment this one and debug, so you can run this code and get some to see if your drivers work fine. One thing to note here that I struggled a lot, You need first to give 12 or 24 powers to the drivers and then connect the 5 volts. If you don't do it in this order, this will not work fine, but at least you can use this one and see they have strange settings. For sensorless homing are these, you just uncomment this one, and these are the settings. You need to tune this a bit, but you'll have to test these ones. And maybe define EEPROM settings. This one I defined it, like I said, to use the extruder cooling fan. And this will be for homing, not for homing, for mapping the bed. Okay, this is basically all the settings I used in Marlin. But like I said, if you are interested, just buy this board. It's cheaper, much easier, you won't have any problems. But now after I tested this, the ESP, and I moved to Clipper. I wanted to use Clipper from the beginning, but Clipper does not support this chip. I really don't recommend you buy this. Just buy a motherboard. Maybe I'll make another video on what best board for Clipper. And use with Clipper. It's much easier to set things, works much better. Okay, this is all I had to say about this one. Hope